Hi guys, it's Claire Nakti. Today I'm going to be exploring the highly requested Bharani Nakshatra, tapping into its pulse in our modern world by saturating and immersing in the art and philosophies of its natives. I've done a ton of brand new research and made some shocking connections that beautifully reinforce and deepen and enrich our collective understanding of Bharani's ancient associations, taking them out of the books and exploring how they truly manifest around you and through you. Bharani over the centuries has been telling this same story through its natives over and over, and today I want to really reveal the details of that story by looking through the lens of their combined works. As I hope with each of my nakshatra explorations, after that it's like a new thread of reality has been illuminated more in some way. You'll never really unsee Bharani's mythical and archetypal patterns again, and you'll be able to spot them all around you in your life and relationships, in the media and the art that you consume, in your dreams and reflections, and will then undoubtedly keep deepening your own gnosis and understanding of its eternal divine themes. This was my most thorough research project yet, so I've split it into two parts to not overwhelm myself or my disk space. And before I jump into this is one quick note. My channel is fully funded by the generosity of my viewers. The support of my patrons allows me to have the creative freedom to follow where my astrological research leads me, all the way until I feel I've reached its depths and complexities, and to put tons of time into sharing it freely with you all, to not change what I'm doing to get monetized, or to have to focus on trying to get paid sponsors, or to pander to the masses for views, or anything like that to get by. I can just focus my work on my passions and those in this little niche who understand them and share them with me. For that, I'm so thankful, and with that, I will get into the video. I truly hope that you enjoy it.
You've told us that we should regard death as being a goal,
yes,
and that to shrink away from it is to evade life and
yes,
live purposes.
yes.
I'll begin, as I normally do, with the traditional significations which express themselves so beautifully in the modern works of Bharani natives. The presiding deity of this nakshatra is the god Yama, who rules over death, dharma, and judgment. However, while having strong connections to death, Bharani is symbolized by the female sexual organ, the Yoni, the portal through which all souls incarnate. Yoni translates to literally mean the source. Yama holds an eternally spinning wheel of death and rebirth, and this same symbolic message is found deeply in Bharani artworks and philosophies. These natives transmit to the world that death and birth are a united force, parallel events, inextricably linked. In his book, What Becomes of the Soul After Death, the Bharani moon native Swami Sivananda writes, "Birth and death are the jugglery of Maya. He who is born begins to die, and he who dies begins to live."
Well, you're dead or crazy.
Not crazy, Pete.
Where do you want to go? Home. This is your home. You're dead.
Dead.
Birth and death are merely doors of entry and exit on the stage of this world. A man of wisdom is not afraid of death, as he knows that death is the gate of life. Bharani specializes in exploring the after-death and pre-birth state. Reversing the normal way that humans conceptualize beginning and ends, Bharani films repeatedly start with physical death.
Oh, I just hurt my back. I'm not dead.
Let go of me!
I'm right here! I'm right here! I'm not dead. I'm not dead.
I'm not dying today. Not when my life just started.
And these films close with birth into different realms or incarnations. Bharani stresses that death is the beginning, the portal to be delivered based on your spiritual momentum into a new condition harmonized with your evolving nature. Bharani is the force that separates the soul from the body, and this is the event that makes rapid transformation inevitable, and thus how this nakshatra correlates to Yama's after-death judgment, which we all have to face again and again, although we do not remember it, when we are stripped of our earthly vessel and the only thing directing our movement is our habits of mind and the cause and effect of our past actions that developed these habits. The soul's encounter with Yama in the after-death state is explored thoroughly in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, or Bardo Total. The highly influential psychologist and philosopher Carl Jung had Bharani moon. Paraphrasing his summary of this text in his psychological commentary on it, like the Egyptian Book of the Dead, the Tibetan Book of the Dead is a set of instructions for the dead individual during the period of his Bardo existence, an intermediate or limbo state of 49 days duration between death and rebirth. The text falls into 3 parts, navigating the changing phenomena of the Bardo astral realm. The first stage, Chikai Bardo, describes the psychic happenings at the moment of death. The second stage, Chonyid Bardo, deals with the dream state which supervenes immediately after death with what are called the karmic illusions. The third stage, Sidpa Bardo, concerns the onset of the birth instinct and of prenatal events. It is characteristic that supreme insight and illumination, and hence the greatest possibility of attaining liberation, are granted during the actual process of dying, when there is a momentary clarity, or what is called an intuitive glimpse into the nature of mind itself, the ground of being. Soon afterward, the estrangement of consciousness from truth begins, leading eventually to descent into rebirth. The illuminative lights grow ever fainter, and the illusions and visions grow more and more terrifying. Jung stated of this text, "For years, ever since it was first published here, the Bardo Total has been my constant companion, and to it I owe not only many stimulating ideas and discoveries, but also many fundamental insights." Just as Jung found this ancient death text so profound for enriching the field of psychology, in the modern world, Bharani artists feel a strong natural resonance with this book's teachings. Of the only 2 fiction film works listed on the Bardo Total reference page, both are created by Bharani natives. The first is Enter the Void, fully inspired by the Tibetan Book of the Dead and directed by Bharani moon Gaspar Noé, and he co-wrote it with a Bharani sun woman.
Tibetan Book of the Dead? I'm assuming it's about death.
Well, it tells you how your spirit comes out from your body after you die.
Just like the sacred text, it takes you on a journey beginning with a man's death, his clear light experience, followed by his descent through the visions of his life memories, present family mourning, and potential future lives through Yoni portals, which leads finally to his rebirth. The second film is Jacob's Ladder, which was directed by Adrian Lyne and written and produced by Bruce Joel Rubin, both Bharani moon natives. Rubin considered Jacob's Ladder to be a modern interpretation of the Bardo Total. It follows the consciousness of a mortally wounded soldier as he travels unknowingly through his surreal dying dream state. The story hints at the intense realization that Jacob must come to, that he is right on the threshold of death and that his spirit is preparing to leave his body.
See, according to this, you're already dead. You out of here, baby.
You should finish the Book of the Dead. When you die, your spirit leaves your body. At first, you can see all your life reflected in the magic mirror. Then you start floating like a ghost. And then you see these lights, all these different lights of all different colors. These lights are the doors that pull you into higher planes of existence. But most people, they actually like this world so much that they don't want to be taken away. That's when the whole thing turns into a bad trip.
I'm not dead. What are you then? I'm alive.
The only way out is to get reincarnated.
Bruce Joel Rubin is a sort of afterlife king of Hollywood, as you'll see as I go, also known for writing many other films on the afterlife and resurrection, such as Brainstorm, Ghost, and Deadly Friend. The New York Times described him as an artist who shares through his work that the prospect of death has a distinctly positive side. The article praises the ability to depict mortality at its most generous and glowing has done wonders for Mr. Rubin. Another particularly strong film inspiration for Jacob's Ladder, for both the writer and director, was the 1962 work An Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge, one of Lyne's favorite movies. It was directed by the Bharani Ascendant native Robert Enrico and similarly follows a man's consciousness during his dying dream. A charged criminal at his execution is being hanged from a bridge. The rope breaks and the story follows him during a wild escape. He miraculously runs and swims all the way back to the embrace of his children and wife. The iconic ending is written, "At the bottom of the steps she stands waiting, with a smile of ineffable joy and attitude of matchless grace and dignity. Ah, how beautiful she is." He springs forwards with extended arms, and as he is about to clasp her, he feels a stunning blow upon the back of the neck. A blinding white light blazes all about him with a sound like the shock of a cannon. Then all is darkness and silence.
I'm not dead.
Of course you're not.
Dream on.
God, no.
One of the earliest examples of this dying dream state is Little Match Girl by the Bharani moonwriter Hans Christian Andersen, about a dying child's hallucinations. With each last match that she strikes as she freezes to death, she has hallucinations bringing her closer to her end. Finishing with a dying dream in which she is greeted by her dead grandmother, whose ghost takes her to the next realm. This is a parallel ending with Jacob's Ladder, in which after finally accepting his death, he passes to the next realm with his dead son.
He was kind of peaceful, the guy. Put up a hell of a fight, though.
Bharani outlooks are strongly found in the Western ancient world in the Orphic religion. I quote, Orpheus, its legendary founder, is said to have taught that soul and body are united by a compact, unequally binding on either. The soul is divine, immortal, and aspires to freedom, while the body holds it in fetters as a prisoner. Death dissolves this compact, but only to re-imprison the liberated soul after a short time, for the wheel of birth revolves inexorably. Thus, the soul continues its journey, alternating between a separate, unrestrained existence and a fresh reincarnation around the wide circle of necessity as the companion of many bodies of men and animals.
Darker yellow lines appear to you. They represent all these couples making love. They give you a vision of a possible future life. And you choose the life that suits you the best. End up in a womb, and you're reincarnated. End of story. And basically, you do this forever and ever until you manage to break the circle.
I put this forward as what brought this link between Orpheus and reincarnation to my attention in the first place was the way that Bharani natives fixate so strongly on the myth of Orpheus and his consort Eurydice, such as the film Book of Life, fully based on this story, starring Bharani moon Diego Luna. I will outline the myth in full momentarily. In Christianity, the body is seen as inseparable from the soul, as it speaks of the redemption of our bodies in the afterlife to be with God, whereas in reincarnation, the soul repeatedly shifts to a new body, leaving the body behind and returning to Earth. Bharani natives born with innate closeness to this wheel of rebirth often then strongly resonate with the outlook of death in many other religions, where it is depicted as a transitory in-between state and not a permanent state of existence. Yama catches and directs souls to the appropriate ensuing experiences, using transformational Yoni gateways to convey the soul across its journey into different heavenly higher planes, or Naraka, the 28 levels of hell realms, and Bhumi, Earth, continually. So despite Christianity positing a different perspective, in the West, Bharani natives have also been some of the few who have very consistently argued death as a road to reincarnation.
Do you believe in reincarnation?
So the key myth begins that Orpheus, a talented musician, fell in love with and married the beautiful Eurydice. Soon after, a snake bite causes her to experience a tragic, untimely death. Overcome with grief, Orpheus descends to the Underworld, to Hades, the Lord of the Dead, to attempt to restore her to life.
You want to see Maria again. Think about what you say.
With all my heart.
Done?
Maria.
He pleads, O God of the underworld, to which all mortals descend, I am here to seek my wife. I beg you, unravel the thread of Eurydice's early demise. All will be yours, we all end up here. You reign over the dead. After living out her fair span of years, she will be yours, and you may delight in both of our deaths. Orpheus then argues that love overcame even Hades himself when he carried off Persephone into the underworld.
Persephone! Don't ignore me!
Or what? What will you do? I'm already in hell.
His words win Hades over, and he returns Eurydice to Orpheus on the condition that she could follow him out of the caves of the underworld, but Orpheus was not allowed to look back at her as they walked. I will let the ending be told to you by a Bharani moon actress herself in one of the primary films listed as being majorly inspired by this myth, The Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
Ils prennent, au milieu d'un profond silence, un sentier en pente, escarpé, obscur, enveloppé d'un épais brouillard. Il n'était pas loin d'atteindre la surface de la terre, il touchait au bord, lorsque, craignant qu'Eurydice ne lui échappe et impatient de la voir, son amoureux époux tourne les yeux et aussitôt, elle est entraînée en arrière. Elle tend les bras, elle cherche son étreinte et veut l'étreindre elle-même. L'infortunée ne saisit que l'air impalpable. En mourant pour la seconde fois, elle ne se plaint pas de son époux.
Portrait of a Lady on Fire retells this tragedy in a symbolic manner by depicting a Bharani woman condemned to this kind of underworld or death through leaving the woman that she loves to enter an arranged marriage in Italy. The academic John Solomon lists primary Orphic themes in 5 movies, strongly dominated by Bharani individuals. The film Moulin Rouge was written and directed by the Bharani moon native Baz Luhrmann, who stated that he drew strongly from this Greek tragedy for the work and that it parallels the myth. In this case, the man descends into the dark Paris underworld of prostitution to retrieve his love.
We're creatures of the underworld. We can't afford to love.
The film Slumdog Millionaire was directed by the Bharani moon native Danny Boyle, who added connections to Orpheus to the script that had not been in it originally. An Orpheus opera is shown in the movie, and a cut scene includes a woman retelling the myth to the main character, who is, similar to Moulin Rouge, moving through the Mumbai underworld to retrieve his suffering lover Latika. The most famous opera of this myth, which is shown in this film, is the version by the composer Christoph Gluck, who had Bharani ascendant. In The English Patient, a man returns to an underworld-like cave to retrieve his dead lover, played by a Bharani moon woman.
My darling, I'm waiting for you. How long is a day in the dark? Or a week?
Extending into yet another art medium, there was a branch of art called Orphism, which posited that painting should be like music, and this was coined by the poet Apollinaire, a Bharani moon native, whose first book was called The Procession of Orpheus. He is described as being someone who popularized Orphic themes in the modern world. The arguably best modern representation of the Eurydice myth in film is What Dreams May Come, which beautifully illustrates Bharani's unique conception of death-defying love.
I'm her soulmate. I can find her.
I previously touched on the Swati themes in this film, which help one to explore and understand the nature of the mental plane, where one's mind directs them. I have explored in the past Swati's connection to the Tibetan practices of dream yoga, which take place when we are alive in what is called Milam Bardo, the dream state. In dream yoga, one trains their mind to navigate the astral realms with awareness and consciousness, as well as to be able to dissolve the astral phenomenon altogether and realize the underlying illusion that everything is emanating from the mind. With Swati, the lucid dreamer, you know your consciousness can become unbound from your body, can journey away and return. That's what makes dream yoga an excellent preparatory practice for death, letting you gain first-hand experience of the volatile, fluid state of disembodied consciousness moving at the speed of thought, which becomes one's reality post-death. These lucid dream practices are most glorified and exalted as the training ground for one's mind in the following Bardo states, where your actions and reactions will determine your state of rebirth. So Bharani deals as strongly with the astral plane as Swati on this axis, but the traveler is in a different state, one with much greater ramifications. Saturn is exalted in Swati while it is debilitated in Bharani, as when you can access the Bardo and become more skilled on it, you engage in mental transformations that are willed and still have the anchor of your body. Swati plays with this realm while Bharani is at the mercy of it. Bharani is the forced and unconscious transformations, Yama's judgments, that come as a result of your past actions.
You stay in this house and you judge everyone and everything.
In the state where your previous body and consciousness are permanently divided. Accessing the Bardo during life helps to bring longevity because then you do not have to experience death to undergo transformations that better align you with your inner state. Whereas Bharani puts you in direct contact with the cosmic forces of judgment, whose verdict for your transformation creates intense, harsh, and rapid changes that can feel untimely or distressing due to our attachments to the life, loved ones, and form that we are leaving. What Dreams May Come takes place on the astral in the after-death Bardo state.
You said
There are no rules. If there are no rules, then how can you say that Annie can't realize she's dead?
I can't.
Okay.
We only know what we and others have seen, and no one has ever seen a suicide brought back.
Stick around, Chief. You ain't seen nothing yet.
Robin Williams plays a loving husband and father who has lost his children in a car accident. Later, he himself dies in the same way and is escorted through the experience of watching his funeral, following his living wife.
You've died, Chris.
You have to be a dream, Doc. If I were dead, would I need you to tell me?
I guess you do.
I'm not leaving you alone. I'm not going anywhere.
And then crossing over to a heavenly realm in order to let her move on and await her joining him there. Eventually, he is informed that in her deep mourning, she committed suicide and is now in a kind of hell of her own mental creation.
Looks just like our home.
Don't even think that. It's an illusion, the whole place. Her illusion. Suicides can get pretty tortured, pretty committed to punishing themselves.
The woman stuck in this underworld is played by a Bharani moon actress. Like Eurydice, his love for her is enough to inspire him to leave his children in heaven and dive into the terror of this underworld realm to retrieve her.
Good people end up in hell because they can't forgive themselves.
But I can forgive you.
For killing my children and my sweet husband.
Being so wonderful, the guy would choose hell over heaven just to hang around you.
The afterlife scenes of the film Lovely Bones are often compared to What Dreams May Come. Lovely Bones was directed by Peter Jackson, who can have Bharani ascendant. The film tells the story of Susie Salmon, played by the Bharani moon native Saoirse Ronan, a young murder victim who watches her grief-stricken family from the in-between as they mourn her and try to find her killer.
She's here.
What?
Susie. Susie's in the in-between.
I was in the blue horizon, between heaven and earth. The days were unchanging, and I would hear them calling. The voices of the dead.
These films emphasize Bharani's traditional basis above, which is the removal of life from the body.
Life was leaving me.
Yama is the catcher of dead souls, and Bharani's basis below is the carrying of the soul to the realm of the ancestors.
Welcome to the land of the remembered.
I made it.
And on the Day of the Dead, no less.
Then, by the combination of these three factors, creatures move on to the next world.
The great beyond? As in beyond life?
Yeah.
That's death right there?
Shockingly similar to is the animated film Soul, starring the voice of the Bharani moon native Jamie Foxx.
I'm out of here.
I don't think you're supposed to go that way.
Like Lovely Bones and Jacob's Ladder, in this film Fox's character is terribly injured after falling in a manhole. He spends the film in the in-between state, attempting to get back to his body, refusing to move on to the next realm and accept the end of his current life.
Look, I'm not supposed to be here.
Must have been sudden for you.
What was that? Wait! I'm not finished! I gotta get back! I don't wanna die! I'm not done.
Holly said there was a wide, wide heaven beyond everything we knew. But I wasn't looking beyond yet. I was still looking back.
Going with the rebirth fixation of Bharani, Soul doesn't just focus on this realm as a gateway to the end, however, and he quickly visits the great before, where new souls are finding their spark to be incarnated onto Earth.
So, how do they get to Earth then?
Well, they use the Earth portal, once they get a complete personality, of course.
There is also a Eurydice aspect in this film, in that his new soul companion falls into a hell of her own mental creation, believing she is not worth incarnating.
I'm afraid she's become a lost soul.
She won't face it. She won't realize, accept what she's done. And she will spend eternity playing that out.
And he braves entering this thought hell to pull her out and into the realm of life and birth.
You ready?
Huh?
To come live.
The primary philosophical influence on What Dreams May Come was of Emanuel Swedenborg, who had Bharani moon. On the Wikipedia page for metempsychosis, the Western philosophical word for reincarnation, it explains that before the 19th century, Western doctrines of transmigration were rare except for two places, the Orphic Mysteries and the philosopher Emanuel Swedenborg. It further then cites only a few other Western thinkers, another being the Bharani native Edgar Cayce. who was one of the earliest reports in 1923 of accessing past life information in the trance state, something he's very much known for. Swedenborg was a scientist and mystic, famous for his early and experiential descriptions of heaven and hell and the afterlife state. The philosophies of what dreams may come are directly from his publications.
They say we live in our minds anyway.
For example, he said, "The Lord casts no one down in hell, but the Spirit casts himself hither."
Everybody's hell is different. It's not all fire and pain.
You were expecting physical danger? What could it do? Kill you, huh? No, in hell, there's real danger of losing your mind.
Bharani's conception of judgment is essentially the way our own mind habitually moves regarding where we project ourselves once our body is removed. In Jung's exploration of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, he too explains how he loves its strongly psychological components. He writes that in the text, not only the wrathful but also the peaceful deities are conceived as samsaric projections of the human psyche.
You really are a good shrink, Doctor.
Carl Jung already tried that.
Stop talking! My unconscious mind hates you!
Understanding and control of the psyche leads to the ability to dissolve these phenomena completely and re-enter the clear light. Swedenborg was an incredibly important and powerful early influence in regards to understanding the psyche in that sense, and Jung read all of his books at key points throughout his career.
What is this place?
It's the gateway to hell.
Swedenborg's philosophies also inspired the film Things Seen and Heard, which explores his outlook that the afterlife environment and company depends on the psyche of the individual. It follows an art professor who writes a thesis on the connection between Swedenborg and the painter George Enes.
Your chapter on how Swedenborg influenced the art of George Enes is what landed you here.
Swedenborg, really?
Well, Swedenborg, he keenly understood that everything in the natural world has a counterpart in the spiritual realm. And Enes painted landscapes with this in mind.
I get that.
George Enes was also a Bharani native who painted the feature work of the film The Valley of Death.
You do know what this is, don't you? The cover art. It's a soul transitioning into the afterlife.
Really?
The painter followed Swedenborg, so he believed that death is parallel to birth, but divine.
You have written one time and another some sentences which have surprised me a little about death. Now, in particular, I remember you said that death is psychologically just as important as birth, and like it's an integral part of life. But surely it can't be like birth if it's an end, can it?
Yes, if it's an end. And there we are not quite certain about this end. And then what? That means a practical continuation of life, of a sort of psychical existence beyond time and space.
This painting refers to the psalm, "Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil." The Tibetan Book of the Dead emphasizes and explores this concept of fear as being the most dangerous thing in the after-death state.
But now there's no water pressure in the neighborhood. There's no electricity and no gas. And there are other things missing too, you know, like all my clean clothes and the books I want to read and some of my favorite paintings.
What's the bad trip?
Well, the bad trip is people call it nightmares, you know. People like feel crazy. All your fears become reality, and it scares the shit out of you.
They're everywhere now,
At that point, you wish you never died.
This is portrayed through Bharani goddess connections to the Mahavidya Bhairavi. She traditionally heals the lagna, the physical body, tying to how Bharani is the Yoni force that grants an individual their form, and is located at the core of Aries, the first house. The scholar David Kinsley writes that Bhairavi is the female form of Yama. She has names such as she who destroys the body and she who has the face of a ghost. Her strongest function is cleansing the mind of the 9 impurities that cause fear, the major danger when in the intermediate state. In What Dreams May Come, the true peril of entering his wife's hellish afterlife experience is that he may begin to think like her, to let her fear consume him until he's also eaten away by it.
3 minutes. Any more, you could lose your mind.
How can you lose your mind?
Once her reality becomes yours, there's really no way back.
In the Orpheus myth, it is fear that Eurydice is not behind him that many interpretations explain is why he turns around and therefore loses her again.
Elle lui adresse un adieu suprême, qui déjà ne peut qu'à peine parvenir jusqu'à ses oreilles, et elle retombe à l'abîme d'où elle sortait.
Now, being from Earth as you are and using as little of your brain as you do, your life has pretty much been devoted to dealing with fear. It has? Well, everybody on Earth deals with fear. That's what little brains do.
There is an iconic Afterlife film called Defending Your Life, which stars the Bharani Moon native Meryl Streep. In the movie, a man dies and is being judged for 9 days in the in-between.
Every second of every lifetime is always recorded. And as each one ends, we sort of look at it. Look at a few of the days, examine it. And then if everybody agrees, you move forward.
What do you mean move forward?
I mean move forward, continue onward. The point of this whole thing is to keep getting smarter, to keep growing.
During his life review, he's given an attorney to defend his life actions and a prosecutor to explain why he does not deserve birth in a higher realm and must instead be reincarnated on Earth again.
Oh, I see. You're not a hero if you save your own life?
A hero? No. No one here is accusing Mr. Miller of not having a survival instinct, but we're here to see if he can overcome fear, not pain.
You don't see the fear in this situation?
In this work, you are elevated to higher incarnations based almost solely on your bravery. And like what is explained in spiritual writings, especially those regarding Bhairavi, fear is said to be the biggest sign of ignorance and impurity.
Fear is like a giant fog. It sits on your brain and blocks everything.
So I'm on trial for being afraid.
Well, first of all, I don't like to call it a trial. Second of all, yes.
Well, what if I'm guilty? What happens to me?
Worst comes to worst, you'll go back to Earth and you'll try it again.
It is the Bharani native Meryl Streep who, like Bhairavi and Eurydice, is the force which inspires this man to be brave and not submit under judgment for rebirth on Earth.
What does it say?
You're going back.
Passengers going back to Earth, please board trams on your left. Passengers moving onward, board trams on your right.
His sudden fearlessness in the intermediate state, motivated by his love for her, is the final action more important than anything in his life review that incites the cosmic judges to look to one another and permit him to elevate.
Let him go.
There's also a scene in this film where they go to a past life pavilion and see their past incarnations. In ancient Greece, this favoring of bravery was depicted by the concept of the Elysian fields, which are often depicted in Bharani art. These fields were initially separated from the Greek underworld and realm of Hades, and only mortals related to the gods and brave heroes could be admitted here.
If you're defending me, is there a prosecutor?
Damn good one.
In the masked drama section of the Book of the Dead, one argues and bargains about their actions and declares what they feel they have already atoned for.
Channel 3 will tell you all about Judgment City.
Like the lawyer and prosecutor in this film, in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, you are granted one spirit to question you and another to defend you. These films or works never depict a dualistic view of good or bad. It's always a debate, a bargaining with Yama in his Karmic logbook to explain why the actions you took were correct for you, your position, and your values.
You're here to defend your life, and I'm going to help you.
Defend my life?
You have earned the right to be judged. Your heart is pure and courageous.
A major part of the Bardo total is the prayer which protects from fear in the intermediate states.
What do you think happens when you die? What if it's bad, painful, some extension or manifestation of your fears and your failings of your last moments again and again and again and again and again?
No. Wait.
If one is able to confront and dissolve their fears in the Bardo, they can attain liberation from them. If not, the prayer continues. When I see my future parents in union, may I achieve an exalted body. Once I have achieved birth in a supreme human form, may I not be influenced by negative past actions, but multiply and emulate my past merits. Jung describes that the after-death initiation is a series of diminishing climaxes ending with rebirth. The fierce winds of karma whirl the dead one along until they come to the womb door. The Bardo Total urges the dead to resist rebirth and obstruct the womb entrances. If you fail this, it continues, "At this you will be dismayed and you will think, I'm experiencing such misery, now I will look for whatever kind of body I can find." Thinking in this way, you will move haphazardly and randomly towards whatever might appear. According to your past actions, the light of the realm into which you are to be born will shine most of all. Your soul will glow with that color. From now on, the body of your past life will grow more faint and the body of your next life will grow more vivid.
I hope she's all right. Oh, she's fine. She's got a strong spirit. She'll be all right.
What are you talking about? I mean, she's practically dead.
Oh, dead, but that's just her body.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you know, which, let's face it, is no big loss in the long run.
What are you talking about?
She'd come right back. People come back again and again.
Uh-huh.
I mean, for instance, I could have been someone that you knew before.
Yeah.
Someone that you loved.
If you have watched my previous work on the planet Venus as a Nakshatra lord, you may now be drawing connections to the way that Bharani represents when an individual takes a form that correlates to the state of their soul. I have explored how the latter two Venus-ruled nakshatras posit aestheticism philosophies and worship and extol the outer unfolding or creation of beauty not as something meaningless or shallow, but as a sign of an immense depth of harmony that leads to a beautiful creation or exterior. While these nakshatras judge form, create art, and venerate beauty, in Bharani, the very first expression of Venus, it's fascinating to see the primordial experience, the initiating spark.
Wait a minute, what? This is where personalities come from?
Of course. Do you think people are just born with them?
That led to these later insights. Here, the birth identity and incarnation itself is the art charged with deep meaning. Yama's spinning karmic rebirth wheel turns towards increasing harmony, indicative of the depth of one's self-realization, or it spirals into degenerating chaos, indicative of its fall further from truth. Venus is cosmically present as one chooses a womb door, a life and body, based on karmic mental projections, and that womb that attracted you will sculpt and transform you into something further or closer to a type of spiritual perfection or exaltation described in Bardo Total. Therefore, Venus holds this deep ingrained memory of form's unfathomable significance. Rahu, the North Node, was said to have been born in Bharani, and Rahu rules the future and the desires that you hold for gaining new experience in your next incarnation. Bharani is a star that is so vastly transformative as it sets the entire foundation for the coming incarnation. With Bharani's connection to Bhairavi as the healer of the ascendant which rules your body and identity, as well as this being the nakshatra tracking all of your karmic links, this solidifies how the life circumstance, physical body, and karmas are all inseparably intertwined. Swedenborg sounded similar to other Venusian philosophers in his spiritual explorations of heaven and hell. He stated that on these planes the inner state is revealed and the spiritual form is then assessed. He writes, "Angels facing the dead one's deeds look searchingly into the face and continue their examination through the whole body. Just as the details of our thought and intention is inscribed in our brains, because this is where the beginnings are, so they are inscribed on the whole body as well. All of the elements of our thought and intention progress out from the inside and take definition in our outmost forms. On these planes," he goes on, "people who were engaged in good actions had lovely faces. People who were engaged in ugly actions had ugly ones. Our spirit is nothing but our affections whose outward form is our face." So the Yoni symbol of this nakshatra conveys us to a new incarnation. It evokes your soul into a body. Bhairavi's mantra of 3 letters all form an inverted triangle in the center of the Muladhara chakra. This symbolizes the Yoni and is the shape used in evocational magic to call a spirit, concentrating its energy into the womb-like triangle so that it can be interacted with more tangibly. Bhairavi resides in the center as Kamarupa, meaning desired form. This is also what is being done when you are being given a form. The Yoni is the evocation triangle conveying you to a new realm, and your soul is being called towards it. Along with the Yoni, an alternative symbol of Bharani is the boat that takes us to a new realm, like Charon in Greek mythology, the ferryman of Hades who carries the souls of the newly deceased across the river Styx, which divided the world of the living from the world of the dead.
A coin in the mouth. It was a Greek tradition, you know, to pay the boatman to ferry you across the river Styx.
Bharani's power is Apa Bharani Shakti, the power to take things away. Bharani films perfectly tap into this alternative symbol, and their works are further unified by some recurring image of an afterlife vehicle the deceased uses to navigate this limbo state and reach their next destination. In Things Seen and Heard and What Dreams May Come, this boat is depicted very clearly. These moments call to mind as well the film The House That Jack Built by Bharani Sun native Lars von Trier, where a man is being escorted to his after-death judgment. This scene is inspired closely by the painting The Bark of Dante, the first major painting of the artist Eugene Delacroix, who also had Bharani Sun. In Jacob's Ladder, when his consciousness first transfers to the dying Bardot state, he is riding a ghostly subway.
Bergen. I fell asleep.
Just look at that, his guts are hanging out. I'll push him back in.
In Defending Your Life, it's a group of buses which transport each soul to the appropriate rebirth realm.
Let's go, dead people. I'm taking you onwards.
In Bharani films in general, there's also a lot of subway imagery, a symbol for the underworld experience.
Get off my train!
The film Outward Bound was directed by Bharani Moon Man and stars a Bharani Moon woman in another Eurydice role. In this film, a couple loves each other deeply but feels blocked from being able to be together during their lives. For this reason, they decide to attempt to commit suicide together in order to be together for eternity.
You're sure? You're not afraid?
We'll be together, dear.
For always.
Won't it be wonderful?
They then awaken on a boat, and it is explained to the boat passengers that they are in the in-between.
What about all of us on this boat, sir? We are all dead, aren't we? Yes, sir. Quite dead. It is queer, isn't it? Why, sir? We didn't think it was queer when we were born.
The examiner will be boarding the ship soon to judge each one.
What sort of a person is he?
It all depends.
Depends on what?
Yourself. He knows the furthest area of the high tide up the remotest cove. He knows the simpleness of beauty and the evilest thoughts in the human mind.
The examiner, who is like Yama, rejects to judge the couple, however. They realize, like in What Dreams May Come, that because they committed suicide, they will be trapped in this in-between state on this boat, and this is what is referred to in the movie as halfways.
Why aren't we closer? I thought we would be when we're dead.
Where are we going to? Oh, we just go on like this, sir. Backwards and forwards, forwards and backwards. Why is this happening to us? It happens to all halfways, like we are.
But what are we, Scrubby? We halfways.
We're the people who ought to have had more courage.
For this reason, the man attempts to pull himself back into his body before he is fully dead. From limbo, his lost Bharani lover calls to him like Eurydice, trapped alone.
Henry! 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 He must be here.
He's gone.
Oh, Henry! Don't leave me alone forever.
And eventually he pulls her consciousness back into the realm of the living, just as in What Dreams May Come, where Robin Williams does succeed in pulling his Bharani wife into a heavenly realm with him.
She killed herself. Is that kind of an occupational hazard of soulmates? One's not much without the other?
They can't separate us now, can they? Nothing can take one from the other.
I know you'll come and carry me out into the Palace of Winds.
The loving couple, though, then decides to reincarnate together rather than remain in the afterlife.
But what about going back? Being reborn? See, that's the one thing we can't have here. Finding each other. All over again. Falling in love.
These films are a romantic segue into what is perhaps the strongest repeating theme that I've ever seen with a nakshatra, which is the Bharani soulmate or lovers through death trope that implies Venusian eternal love.
To us.
Always.
Forever.
In this trope, one lover dies. Of the approximately 15 films that I'll be mentioning with this exact same theme, they are split just about evenly between the spirit of the dead lover being the Bharani native,
Oh my god, I can feel you. I can really feel you.
or the Bharani native being the one who lost their spouse who's now a ghost.
Is this real? Are you really here?
One of the earliest major films in this regard is Always, where a man played by Bharani Moon native Richard Dreyfuss dies heroically in a plane crash. He finds himself in the afterlife meeting his guide, played by the Bharani Sun native Audrey Hepburn, in her final film role.
My plane did blow up. I think I do remember that.
Real fireball.
Listen, how did I get out of that one?
You didn't get out, Pete.
I didn't.
I'm dead. That's right.
Throughout the story, his deep attachment to his girlfriend keeps him from moving onward. He watches her in her daily life and tries to guide and help her through his whispers that she can subtly hear.
It's almost in your... That's my girl. You're still my girl, aren't you?
A film largely copying this, which came out very shortly after, was Ghost, written again by Bruce Joel Rubin and starring Bharani Moon Demi Moore. In this example, the Bharani Moon native loses her lover in an untimely violent death. Upon dying, though, due to his attachment to her, he rejects to enter the white light that would move him forward and becomes a lingering limbo ghost with unfinished business. Like in What Dreams May Come, the Bharani woman feels his lingering presence strongly.
It's like I think about you every minute. It's like I can still feel you.
Why do I believe you can hear me? Why do I think you can see this?
I'm here, Mom. I'm here, babe. You still exist.
I'm right here. I'm sitting here. Right beside you.
Rye, I wish you could hear me. You're gonna get through this, all right? I know you will.
In Endless, like in Always, a Bharani sun and moon man dies in a violent, untimely accident. He visits his dead body, his grieving loved ones, his funeral, and most importantly, his grief-stricken girlfriend. Perhaps because of the psychic themes of her Hasta moon, she can see and channel him very directly through drawing his image.
For the sake of argument, let's say you was being straight up with me, that you talked to her, which I did.
Which you did, yeah.
What if it only works with your girl? You dig? Like, what if it's just some connection only y'all had?
Can we be together? Soulmates.
In Wander Darkly, a woman and her Bharani moon partner are in a violent car accident. The woman thinks she has died, as her grief makes her totally detached from her life.
Weird, your lifeline's really short. What? Or I could be doing it wrong. No, it's true. I'm dead.
Her only comfort seems to be in her husband, who takes her back to different moments during their romance.
I could stay in this place forever. I want to kiss you at the end of every day for the rest of my life. One for yesterday, one for today.
However, it's revealed in the film that all along her husband is the one that died in the accident.
The lady whose husband died in an accident.
What did you just say? I can't breathe.
And his spirit or memory has been what has been helping her to mourn and heal so that she can be a loving mother again to their baby. In Lovely Bones, there's a strong romantic theme as well.
Then I remembered. There was something I was meant to do.
The Bharani moon spirit's unfinished business is largely that immediately before her death, she was finally going to meet her crush, Ray, in a gazebo. So in the film, she lingers with his body and feels loving attachment to it.
Always, I would watch Ray. I was in the air around him.
In the movie Ghost Town, a man gets hit by a bus. In this case, his wife's grief, anger, and general attachment is what keeps his spirit tethered to Earth, and so he cannot move on and is stuck in limbo. She too has Bharani moon.
Sorry, I'm just running on about my dead husband.
No, it wasn't you, no.
In multiple scenes across these films, the dead lover struggles with watching their partner in their mourning try to open up to new love.
The political will is there, the money's there. What an act, so pompous.
That's my girl, pal.
NGOs are being supported at record levels. I need you to punch him. But what we really need, come on, are boots on the ground.
Kick his self-righteous teeth in.
Please. Please take me out of here.
This exact jealous situation between a living and deceased lover takes place in the film Frighteners, a ghost movie written and directed by Bharani ascendant Peter Jackson.
It's gonna be okay.
Hey, get your hands off my wife!
In the movie Mothman, a man loses his Bharani Moon wife in a violent accident and has mental encounters with her as he uncovers the Mothman mystery. Dragonfly, though, is a film that in very many ways copied Mothman, about a doctor and a deep loving relationship with his pregnant Bharani Moon wife.
Just imagine soaring around with me up there, flying.
If you do, you're on your own.
Why?
Because eagles eat bunny rabbits. I'm a vegetarian.
But in your next life, too?
Yes.
You mean if you got a chance to come back, you'd want to be earthbound again?
No. I'll fly around with you up there.
Make different choices. Try again.
Like the other films, though, his wife passes in a violent bus accident in South America, and she communicates to him through the near-death experiences of his patients.
In the ICU yesterday, when I approached your bed, it seemed to me you were pretty...
I was flatlined. I saw her yesterday, too.
What do you mean, Jeffrey? You saw her?
She was there, all around me.
She guides him to complete her unfinished business, which is another example of Bharani clashing death and birth together. He finds out through her ghostly messages that their unborn baby survived the accident and was now being taken care of by a tribe. Casper, the friendly ghost, depicts an incredibly similar scene where the Bharani Moon native Bill Pullman has lost his wife and her spirit returns to show him love and to give him advice about how he is raising their daughter.
I thought I'd have 100 things to say.
Swedenborg was a primary thinker to consider this idea of soulmates and the way they linger together after death. He wrote, "The two are not actually separated by the death of one."
That woman whose cab you just snaked, that's my wife. My widow. She got a very serious problem. I need your help to fix it.
For the spirit of the deceased continues to dwell with the spirit of the one not yet deceased, and this until the death of the other.
Where are you going?
Where I can watch over both of you until we're together again.
At which time they come together and are reunited, loving each other even more tenderly than before because they are in the spiritual world. He continues, when they leave and go somewhere else, they feel a constant pull, a longing to go back to their kindred, and therefore their dominant love. Jung was inspired by Swedenborg's conception of this too. After meeting his wife, Jung wrote, "I am in love. I love with that searching yearning that Swedenborg so wonderfully describes. The anticipation of the other self, the unity preparing for heavenly, eternal times." Bharani's rulership is of Mars and Venus. Venus is the significator of love and romance, and so it makes sense that this is certainly one of the most romantic nakshatras that I have ever studied. However, the specific combining of these planetary energies can help one to think about why this nakshatra contemplates and creates art featuring violence, trauma, and separation brought upon the preciousness of love and attachment.
One for tomorrow.
Bring him back. Can you bring him back? I need him to come back. Please.
Someone look at me. I'm right here.
Let me go.
The nature of Mars in this sense can be understood in the way he causes Mangala dosha, traditionally said to create romantic delay and stress, or the death of the partner, or other painful obstacles to loving union.
Welcome to the Cave of Soul. You see all these candles? Each one is a life. And there, that's Maria. And next to her, Manolo. One aflame with life. The other, kaput.
Bharani works, being a combination of Yama's death significations and Venus's love significations, serve to teach us something very special, to show us all of love's immense power. They communicate that attachment and love transcends time, death, and incarnations.
That's all I saw.
Patrick, that's so weird. You were a dressmaker. I was a tailor. Isn't that interesting?
Do you know about past lives?
We're all connected. It's all connected under the skin. You never know who's lurking in what body.
I didn't look like this in the body, you know.
We keep meeting the souls we're attached to, for better or worse, life after life.
I still love you.
I think you're still in shock.
Forever and ever and ever.
I don't even know you.
Yes, you do. You just haven't realized it yet.
If I'm a bird and you're an insect,
Yeah.
how are we gonna...
We'll just have to do enough of that in this lifetime to make up for the next 10.
Bharani individuals, being intuitively close to death, have a strong attraction to spirituality in general, but their main contributions to this field and passions tend to be in areas of past lives, reincarnation, and soulmates.
And the world keeps spinning, and the tales keep turning, and people come, and people go. And the one truth we know, that love, true love, never dies.
Edgar Cayce is quite well known for his work on the concept of soulmates. It is the writer Elizabeth Clare Prophet who many say started the 21st century twin flame trend with her book Twin Flames and Soulmates, and she is Ketu in Bharani, channeling these concepts. The idea of the twin flame was also explored in the Egyptian Book of the Dead and in Plato's Symposium, something I'll touch more on in part 2 of this series. The latter is described in the film Only You, starring Robert Downey Jr., a movie fully about the idea of soulmates and fated love.
Plato tells us we began as circles, and when we strived to be like the gods, we were punished by a thunderbolt that struck us and cut us right down dead center in half. We scattered to the ends of the earth, searching and searching
Henry, dear.
for our other half.
Just tell me where you are. I'll come, darling.
And all Plato was saying is that if we just stop and go with the flow, it'll lead us back to each other.
There's some metaphysical wires got across them right. No, I am the guy. I was there. I know it.
I looked into her eyes, and wow, something happened. Something that's never happened to me before. Something so familiar.
You did! You look great! This is fantastic! I'm so glad you did!
The movie Hereafter twists the Bharani trope a bit, but centers the idea of soulmates as even more crucial. Instead of a living couple being separated by death,
I'm right here. I'm right.
a man dies and finds out that souls only move into the next realm when coupled with their mate, their completing opposite.
Unfortunately, you died single. Souls cross over in pairs, and only in pairs. You have to find a soulmate. The soulmate cliche is quite real. That's why everyone makes such a big deal about it, whether they know it on some subconscious level or not. It is the purpose, the secret, the meaning of life, you might say.
The deceased who are single remain in the in-between, relegated to a dating limbo. Eventually, he encounters a living Bharani sun woman who falls in love with him.
Shit, you're not dead. Great.
That's her opening line?
You can hear me and see me?
It's revealed that she can see him because she is close to death. Her own death date is looming. Here too, the ghost expresses jealousy towards living men that she interacts with.
But it became more.
Well, maybe for you, but not for me. And don't touch me, please.
Listen, honeybee, you're being way too nice, all right? You gotta drop the hammer on this guy. Maybe even a table saw. Come on.
Really?
Tell him to leave you alone. Yell at him. Go!
Really?
Come on, yeah.
Don't
I really want to clock this guy. I've never wanted to fist a face so bad in my life.
After she, as well, dies in her untimely death, they are allowed to go onward to the next realm together. In Casper, directed by the Bharani moon native Brad Sieberling, the young girl also falls in love with Casper the ghost, who is allowed to take a human body for one evening. Another example of affection between the living and the dead.
Can I keep you? Casper?
Similar is the film Switch. There are key Bharani themes in this movie mingled with the Sun-Men themes that I've explored before, as this man has Bharani sun and Uttarashada moon. He's killed in the beginning by 3 women who want to get revenge on him for being what they describe as a sexist womanizer.
Well, on one hand, you've earned enough credits to get you into heaven.
Oh, thank God.
You're welcome.
On the other hand, you've been so consistently rotten to women, you deserve to go straight to hell.
That's pretty rotten.
perfect record. They all hate you.
All of them? It's kind of hard for me to believe that there aren't at least a couple of women.
Right now, I'll settle for one. So I've decided that you should go back and try to find one female who truly likes Steve Brooks.
If you find her, you go to heaven.
You realize I've been dating my whole life without much success.
Yes, and that's why we're here now. You'll have to find one before you go on, or there won't be any going on.
Swati and Bharani are contrasted again in Vanilla Sky when he is living in a lucid dream to linger with the imaginary version of his lover, played by the Bharani Sun native Penelope Cruz.
I'll tell you in another life when we are both cats.
However, he has been frozen in this dream and time has actually progressed for decades, where in the real world she's already long dead.
Look at us. Frozen and you're dead.
We're not soulmates. Sorry. It's not gonna work.
What, do you think even the universe thinks you're too good for me?
Well, because I'm alive and you're dead.
Yeah.
It's a problem.
At the end, when he is ready to reawaken, she, in this way suggestive of fate or soulmates, like at the end of What Dreams May Come, assures him that they will meet again out there in his next incarnation.
I'll always be with you. How will I find you?
Found you in hell. You think I could find you in Jersey?
I'll see you in another life. We are both cats.
Youth Without Youth stars Bharani Moon Tim Roth, an old man who gets struck by lightning and is granted his youth again. He constantly remembers still his lost love from the 1920s.
I will love you until the day I die.
With his new youth, though, he has the opportunity to meet her again in her new incarnation, and through this they unravel the mystery that they have been together for centuries.
In an earlier existence, Veronica Buller had been Rupini. I would say for the vast majority of the Orientalists, a clear example of the transmigration of the soul.
As a neophyte Orientalist, I can only cite some classical Indian conceptions from Upanishads to Gautama Buddha.
But it's hard for me to believe that I ever existed before. How did you say?
Metempsychosis.
Metempsychosis. Is it true?
Yes. I've always loved you.
Another nakshatra with Venus and Mars energies melding together is Mrigashira, and it certainly has parallels to Bharani. As I have explored before, Mrigashira emphasizes trauma or violence happening to someone that instead makes them unable to remember their romance or to hold the memory of their spouse.
I hate that this is happening to me.
I hate it too.
I'm sorry, but I don't know what I would have been like at a dinner party. I might not be able to remember names or answer simple questions. I mean, never mind get through an anecdote.
Okay, pervert, I think that you should leave.
What? I'm just joking around because of what we talked about yesterday.
Yesterday, I've never even met you.
Lucy suffered a serious head injury. She lost her short-term memory.
Hey, you know who I am, right?
Yeah? You're my doctor.
I'm your husband.
Remember me. Try your best.
Annie!
Stop! I don't recognize this man.
Your wife's had an almost total loss of memory.
I can't believe she doesn't know her own husband.
Memory is also wiped after death, however, and both Mrigashira and Bharani, in different ways, use this opportunity to insist that love can overcome this. Michelle Gondry's Bharani placement brings a stronger, fated soulmate theme to this film, with the idea that the couple always finds one another again, even after forgetting each other. A deleted scene implies that they've done this far more times than even the two occurrences shown in the film. A similar notion is shown in the movie Sliding Doors by another Bharani writer-director. The main character's life splits into two storylines depending on if she met her soulmate or not, but she ends up meeting him anyway in the other storyline, implying this deep, destined bond that finds a way to trigger union no matter the circumstances.
Destino. From the Latin root destinare. Imagine that. The motion of like attracting like.
In this way, Bharani insists on true love bonds as being something unconscious, ingrained in one's soul, and ancient. So these nakshatras of Mrigashira and Bharani have comparable motifs in terms of losing the memory of one's loved one during life versus the memory loss that brings separation after death.
Your wife, love you is strong. We'll find her. But when you find her, nothing will make her recognize you.
This aspect of Bharani is explored across cultures. I quote, "In the religious mythology of China, the deity Meng-Po, also known as the Lady of Forgetfulness, prevents souls from remembering their past lives. She gives them a bittersweet drink that erases all memories before they climb the wheel of reincarnation."
You're not going to remember any of this, so don't worry. You're not going to kick yourself forever.
Dad?
Hey, who's the girl?
Don't you remember?
I remember.
No.
It is Meng-Po's task to ensure that souls who are ready to be reincarnated do not remember their previous life or their time in hell.
Where are we headed, babe? In 1 minute, I won't know you any better than you'll know me, but we'll be together, where we belong.
She collects herbs from various earthly ponds and streams to make her 5-flavored tea of forgetfulness, the waters of oblivion.
Do you remember how you became halfway?
Oh, no, madam. I've been allowed to forget, and I hope you'll be allowed to forget, too. It would be too cruel if they didn't let you forget in time that you killed yourself.
Right.
Now I remember.
In Chinese tradition, occasionally people are able to avoid drinking the brew, resulting in past life memories surfacing in children. This unique opportunity is shown perfectly in the Robert Downey Jr. film Chances Are, where a man deeply in love dies, and in his panic in the hereafter, he runs around causing chaos trying to return to his loved one.
Right. No. Shh, you're making a scene.
Hopeless case of attachment.
Need to go to Washington, D.C.
You want to be reborn a boy or a girl?
No, I don't want to be reborn at all. I want to go home right now, just as I am.
Well, that's possible. You're between bodies right now. Look, you're a soul, a spirit. And I'm telling you right now, the only way to get back is to be reborn.
The only way out is to get reincarnated. Boy.
Okay, there's an Eskimo woman about to give birth.
No, I don't want to be an Eskimo. East Coast, okay? East Coast.
Pool on trust fund. How we can get you there in 3 months?
Can't wait.
You're really in a hurry, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, here comes Cleveland. There's a woman about to deliver there, Marlene Finch.
Fine.
Oh, she's going into labor. You better hurry.
How will we recognize each other?
Don't worry. Go.
Through doing this, he confuses the worker who is supposed to inject this poison of forgetfulness, and is reincarnated again with his memory untouched.
And you forgot to give him his inoculation. Omar, he can't go through life without that. What if he remembers?
Remembering his love, he returns to her in the new body of this Bharani moon native.
Oh my God, I'm Louis Jeffries. I was Louis Jeffries.
We used to love to come here. You and I. Do you remember?
No.
What do you remember?
It's kind of like a dream coming back, bits and pieces. But I especially remember people that I really loved, like you and Philip.
According to the available birth date online, the film director Bimal Roy can have moon in Bharani. His film Madhumati is said to be one of the first reincarnation love story works in cinema. It tells the story of a man who also remembers his past life and love. He remembers her murder, interacts with her ghost who guides him, works to avenge her, and finally reunites with her new form in his current incarnation. In Greece, one of the 5 rivers of the Underworld was Lethe, the river of forgetfulness. The ghosts of the dead were required to drink the waters of Lethe in order to forget their earlier life. Virgil wrote that only when the dead had their memories erased by these waters could they be reincarnated. Orpheus, however, would give some spirits a password to tell Hades' servants, which would allow them to drink instead from the Mnemosyne, the pool of memory.
Is your first time as a human?
What?
I'm getting a strong German Shepherd vibration.
I used to be a lawyer.
The Bardo total also urges one to recite over the corpse, "May I remember my past lives and attain the power of non-forgetfulness." Yama's Gayatri mantra traditionally grants one freedom from the fear of death, and despite dealing with dark subject matter, this nakshatra always presents mortality in an inspiring light that soothes the deep collective terror of losing our loved ones, as it stresses the cyclical nature of reality, elucidating on the way our love calls to us after we pass. Bharani natives effortlessly and confidently present death only as a state of soul transformation and transportation, nothing more or less.
I never knew what dead meant. I used to think it meant lost, frozen.
It means gone. She's gone.
What if she isn't? What if she's still here?
They repeatedly show how we gravitate back to our loved ones in the afterlife or in future lives, and they explore both sides. The pain of separating from them, but the pleasure of death as a force that can reunite us with those we have lost in the afterlife or next birth. As the emblem of attachment, Venus here insists that we do not need to sever from our beloved attachments and can carry them with us as we experience change and growth. In the Varna Shiksha, Yama's letter is even stated to allow one to destroy death. Venus, Shukracharya, is traditionally said to have been awarded Sanjivani Vidya, the power to even resurrect the dead, a magical theme that I will explore more in part 2. So Bharani is the divine gateway that moves something from one world to another, and is also always present when something is taken out of this world and carried to the world to come. All manifest forms of consciousness are delivered, are born, and die through this nakshatra. Bharani is the conveyor, the sacred and profound transformation threshold that is at the end and beginning of all things, both blinding white light experiences of which can be equally terrifying. Bharani rolls over death, that which the living most fear, but its divine authority over this is what makes the validity of its teachings and its instructions not to fear so uniquely comforting and meaningful. Whose consolations can we trust more than these Venetians born under the agency of the god of death himself, when they repeatedly through the centuries express to us that our attachment allows us to cycle through existence and transformation eternally together and play with those we love. Like Shukra himself, rolling even above death, overcoming it, they crown love, Eros, the supreme. Oscar Wilde captured Venus's perspective and the energy play of Bharani beautifully when he wrote, "The mystery of love is greater than the mystery of death." Thank you for watching part 1 of my Bharani deep dive. I hope you liked it, and I'll be back with part 2, which expands on some of the themes that I've explored so far with some more examples, and then branches out into many other Bharani patterns. I've also been posting more often on Instagram, so you can find me there as well. And another thing you can do is work with me one-on-one through my Female Spiritual Path course, contemplating the sacred feminine role in spirituality and how as a woman you can embody and align with that power. Thank you, of course, to my amazing patrons who will also receive extra content for the Bharani exploration. I'm thinking an analysis of the 9 planets in Ascendant and how they each express when placed in Bharani. My Revati level patrons are listed on the screen now, and some extra love to my Abhijit level patrons: Ashley De La Cruz, Bernadette, Avnish Bongar, Shashi, Semia Hogan, Teresa Green, Maddie DRX, Space Trash Queen, Karamsum Safehold, Michael M, Crystal Perales, Kristen, Eric Linden, Jordan A, Stephanie Cruz, Nikki, Jazz, Andre, Bella, Allison San Jose, Anjali, TTHP, E, Juliana Sanz, Tanya Allen, Alba Gega, William Rivera, Jurel McCowan, Melissa Davis, Lola, Ryan Loden, Matthew Corell, Andrew Plays Piano, Karina Amaya, Maya, Deborah Camille Robinson, and Masha. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you guys soon.